Shepard Smith reporting live from the Fox News desk.
Yeah, there's that. We're just getting breaking news in from the Reuters news agency, and we've just gotten word, and I'll read it to you. Armed men have seized Ukrainian border checkpoint at terminal of ferry between Russia and Crimea. The Crimean region is here. Ukraine is here. Russia's here, right? Crimea is this area that's been taken over. There's a ferry that takes you between the mainland and Crimea, and the report now from the Reuters news agency is that Russian forces have taken over that area and are not allowing troops to go back and forth. In addition, I'm quoting now, 3 truckloads of armed men crossed by ferry to the Ukrainian side. There is no mistaking the Russians have seized control of Crimea, an area that does lean Russian, where most of the people speak Russian, that has traditionally been part of Russia and the greater Soviet Union for centuries in years past, at least, part of Russia for centuries. Right now, representatives from Russia requested a meeting at the United Nations in which we expect to hear from the United States ambassador, along with ambassadors to Ukraine and Russia. These are live pictures coming in right now, and this is to start momentarily. In the last hour, President Obama has said Russia's continued military actions in Ukraine, quote, will be a costly proposition for Russia, unquote. The president went on to say Russia is on the wrong side of history. The U.S. is considering economic and diplomatic options that will isolate Russia further, and some of those issues are to be debated in the United Nations Security Council coming up right now. We'll monitor this meeting. Should there be any news of any kind on this serious subject in Ukraine, we'll take you there right away. Meantime, our Secretary of State, John Kerry, says Western leaders are ready to go to the hilt to punish Russia if it doesn't back down in Ukraine. But just as we saw during the Cold War, it looks as if leaders want to solve the crisis with diplomacy instead of force. Ukraine's new prime minister warns that any military standoff between Russia and the West would only further rip his country apart. We have live Team Fox coverage with Amy Kellogg live in Kiev's Independence Square, where those bloody demonstrations happened. First, let's get to Jennifer Griffin, our security person at the Pentagon. What's the message from Washington to Vladimir Putin today?
Well, Shepard, publicly they are being very careful not to inflame the situation, issue red lines or ultimatums. President Obama just addressed the issue while seated next to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in the Oval Office.
What cannot be done is for Russia, with impunity, to put its soldiers on the ground and violate basic principles that are recognized around the world.
This new video shows Russian forces taking over that marine base and ferry terminal in Crimea that you referred to. President Obama said he is deeply troubled by what is happening in Crimea. The Ukrainian people must define their own destiny, he said. Russia has violated international law, he added. He said the U.S. and its partners are looking at ways to isolate Russia. The European Union has suggested that could mean sanctions. President Obama asked the Congress to immediately agree to a financial aid package for Ukraine when they return to Washington this week, Shepard.
You mentioned John Kerry came to the podium and told us all that he's going to Ukraine and scheduled meetings for tomorrow there.
That's right. He travels to Kiev tomorrow and just met with his Moldovan counterpart at the State Department. Of course, Moldova and other former Soviet republics feeling very vulnerable right now.
I regret to say that Russia, in some of the challenges we're seeing right now in Ukraine, has put pressure on Moldova. There are challenges with respect to their energy sources and also their ability to trade.
These pro-Russian protests for another day in Ukraine worry U.S. officials because they could give Putin an excuse to cross further into Ukraine. It is ironic that it was Poland today which issued the call from the EU to sanction Russia. All of Russia's neighbors feeling very nervous right now, Shepard.
Jen Griffin at the Pentagon. Of course, the crisis in Ukraine all started in the capital city of Kiev, where protesters went from mostly peaceful to